guardainfante, uno, and we're only going to concentrate on uno, incorporates the most frequently employed theatrical, rhetorical, literary, and thematic devices present in many Juan Rana entremeses. Juan Rana is, of course, the famous buffoon, gracioso of the Spanish Golden Age. Juan Rana plays a bumbling country mayor, a role he is said to have immortalized. The theatrical double, frequent in the Juan Rana repertoire, is pivotal in this entremés, where a false female mayor acts as Juan Rana's alter ego. The ubiquitous symbolic use of clothing as a gender-bending theatrical and literary device is equally present. The main theme of his work is also typical, namely the subversive and widely comic questioning of patriarchal power and gender identity. Accordingly, El Guardainfante is misogynistic, there we go, misogynistic in its tone, and the false female mayor, aware of the guardainfante, is treated in a hostile manner by her male cohorts. While this pejorative tone and behavior alludes to men's abusive and unjust treatment of women in real life, this theatrical, over-the-top, slapstick entremés must also be considered a critique of the overzealous morality code promoted by some civil and religious authorities during this period. As Raquel would know very well. As the title suggests, a specific piece of female clothing will serve as the leitmotif of this entremés, namely the controversial guardainfante, or hoopskirt, hence all the hoopla. Hannah Bergman has noted that the guardainfante, a type of hoopskirt, whose name suggests protection, concealment of pregnancy, caused grave concern to both ecclesiastic and civil authorities. Supposedly of French origin, it became very popular in Madrid around 1634-35. Serious moralists denounced it repeatedly in somber treatises in these and following years. Women wearing it were accidentally or deliberately subject to public humiliation, and in April of 1639, the government issued a decree forbidding its use. So from the initial comments of this critic, we receive the first inkling of the great hoopla surrounding the guardainfante. This garment, originating from France, often seen as a sign of lax morality by Spaniards, allowed pregnant women to conceal their condition and move about freely. The ideal of concealment and mobility on the part of pregnant women would seem to be so horrendous that the guardainfante was ultimately banned. 5 years after the performance of the guardainfante, Sherry Velasco gives a more detailed explanation of the guardainfante controversy as it was perceived by 19th century moralists. When the 19th century moralist Carranza wrote of women's clothing as dangerous to morality, especially the guardainfante or large hoopskirt, he emphasized how it allowed hidden pregnancies, given its wide and puffy design, is a quote on Carranza, so disproportionate from the waist that it gives unmarried women much room to go around 9 or 10 months pregnant without being noticed. Velasco also notes that in his 1639 treatise, Reforma de Trajes by Bartolomé Jiménez Patón, he also blames the guardainfante for facilitating illicit pregnancies and provoking the miscarriage of legitimate ones. In fact, Jiménez, and citing Fray Fernando de Talavera, claims that the large hoopskirt was invented precisely to hide the pregnancies that resulted from adulterous relations. Talavera takes this argument even further by stating that when men see a woman wearing a guardainfante, they become much more aggressive in their quest to seduce her. End quote. It is a scandalous outfit that easily entices lust because since women know that it can cover pregnancies, they move more freely. They more freely attempt to convince this type of woman to engage in sexual relations. End of quote. It is clear now that the concealment that the guardainfante provided was seen not only to facilitate sexual relations and to hide illicit pregnancies, but to harm the legitimate ones. If this is not enough, the hoopskirt was also seen to trigger aggressive sexual behavior on the part of men and cause women of loose morals to become promiscuous. Obviously, Quiñones de Benavente saw the topical hoopla surrounding the hoop skirt as an excellent vehicle for an entertaining intermezzo, a genre already considered by Jiménez Platón to have a generic reputation for portraying explicit sexual content. El guardainfante begins with Juan Rana directing a preamble to the male-dominant mosqueteria. He asks how his male audience has incredulously allowed his authority as alcalde perpetuo to be usurped by an alcaldesa falsa and her followers, asking, ¿Vos me vistís la barra? Juan Rana swears that he de vengarse de las hembras, pues no alegrarán que paguen los justos por pecadores, andando todas tan anchas. From the onset, therefore, this perceived affront to his municipal and phallic authority and the need to put women in their place and seek revenge for their free-wheeling lifestyle and fashion sense, sets the thematic tone for the parodic intermezzo. The pejoratively used expression andar tan anchas, with references to mobility and vestimentary freedom of women, will soon take on a more literal and jocular meaning. We soon learn that the alcaldesa falsa has been taken prisoner by the authorities, and Juan Rana orders that she be forcibly brought on stage a patadas. On learning that this oversized vaca and overstuffed sardina, as she is described, has knocked down the wall and is now stuck in it, Juan Rana commands that a large mooring rope be tied around her waist and that all available men pull her on stage. This prelude to the alcaldesa falsa's entrance, peppered with insults, describes an exaggeratedly violent attitude towards and treatment of the female prisoner. As anticipated, the entrance of the alcaldesa falsa is a boisterous, over-the-top affair. Juan Rana notes that por sus condiciones y por sus usos ya no caben las hembras dentro del mundo. While this is an obvious reference to the large hoop skirt and the pregnant condition that the garment could or can hide, his comments refer to the preconceived ideas held by men concerning women and the need to keep them in their place. With seemingly great effort and undoubtedly a great deal of theatrical exaggeration, the tied-up and argumentative alcaldesa falsa is dragged on stage wearing the infamous guardainfante, complete with a train of sundry objects. Once again, the underlying violent treatment of women is portrayed, notwithstanding the full effect of the semantic and visual double entendre with reference to las hembras andando todas tan anchas becomes quite comically evident.